talking to the microphone because it's being recorded? Nee. So, welcome. Let's get started about this talk about digital transformation and Drupal and see where those two intersect. A quick introduction first about myself. My name is Jeroen van den Berg. I'm the head of production at Burst, which is a digital agency in the Netherlands. We have offices in Amsterdam and Rotterdam. And I do a bunch of other stuff, but the thing I would like to highlight is that I'm also a board member of the Dutch Drupal Association, in which I'm responsible together with actually Imre, who is here too, for marketing. And we have some great initiatives to market Drupal in the Netherlands. So interested in that, right after this talk, there's a talk from Imre about marketing, how we can set ourselves up for more success by actually telling the story of what we can achieve. So just a very small promo for his talk there. And I do a bunch of other stuff at the local university, and I'm a juror for some awards, but that's not important for now. And at Burst, we help companies grow in an ever-changing digital world. And that also led me to the topic for this talk. So it's about digital transformation. And it's a buzzword. It's been around for many years already. People talk about it, but not everybody knows exactly what it is and how to deal with it and how do we implement it ourselves, because we're not all Nikes or Spotify's or Ubers. How do we cope with that? How do we help clients, or how do we help ourselves with that? So to do that, the first thing I looked up myself is, okay, let's get a definition. And I found this one from Forrester, a leading research agency, and they say that digital transformation is the re-engineering of the firm's business model, its organization, its processes, and or its technology to address continuous new demands and rising expectations. And this relates quite nicely actually to the panel that was right before this talk in the auditorium, among which Dries was there, and they were talking about that too, the rising customer expectations. Because when you look closely to that sentence, that letter, the last sentence, the last part stands out. And actually, when you look even more close, we can trim this all down to 3 words: continuous rising expectations. That's what it is. That's what we are having to deal with in our work, in our daily work. Because others set the bar for us, and we need to match that somehow. So, okay, that's the term. We know what it is. How about why it's important? Why do we actually need to care? Quite simple, to stay ahead of the evolutionary curve. So I found 3 common and probably well-known examples of companies that missed the boat. I'm not sure if that's an English saying, but in Dutch we say, you missed the boat. And they clearly missed that boat. I mean, the iPhone came in 2007 and they changed the way we use devices, to the way we use our mobile phones. I owned a few Nokias before that, but after the iPhone, some companies actually made the shift, were able to transform themselves. I mean, Samsung, LG, HTC, they all caught up, but these 2 examples didn't. But even more so, when you take a look at the iPhone and the smartphone, what they revolutionized is not just the phone industry. They also killed, for example, Kodak. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012 because just as Nokia and BlackBerry, they kind of failed to catch up with the smartphone revolution, because at their peak, they were considered the Google of their time. They were pioneering with technology. They were the first ones to explore with digital photography. They were right up in the front of the companies that were leading digital. However, they still couldn't transform themselves quick enough and catch up again when the smartphone came out. And I've seen a stat about all the businesses and industries that the smartphone killed. I mean, it's a very, very long list beyond just these 2. For example, pocket agendas on paper. Sales dropped tremendously because everybody was using that on the phone. So a whole lot of businesses were struggling because of that transformation or that revolution that the smartphone cost. And again, these are some older examples. 2012, it was Kodak's bankruptcy, and I found a nice example from earlier this year, actually. And I'll have Jimmy Kimmel, a small video of about a minute, explain a little bit about that one. Not sure if anybody here knows Jeffrey the giraffe? Nobody? Okay, Jimmy Kimmel explains. And that's it right there. I mean, that last sentence says everything. Jeffrey explains digital transformation in one sentence. Because all you bitches buy toys on Amazon, I'm out of a job. And it's actually a kind of sad story for Jeffrey, because Torosaurus is a business that dates from the 50s from the US. They had 1,600 stores, 800 or a bit more in the US, and 800 outside. They had 64,000 people working for them, 64,000 employees. And they are out of business. They missed the boat, so to say, again. And just as Kodak, they were transforming because they knew they had to do something with digital. Their story is that in the year 2000, they made a deal with Amazon, actually. They made a deal very early on in the growth of Amazon, that they were the only ones that were allowed to sell toys on that platform. So Torosaurus were the only ones selling toys on Amazon, and they had a 10-year deal for that. However, Amazon, they were looking for ways to get out of that a little bit, so they started selling toys from other manufacturers, from other retailers too. And by 2004, 4 years into the deal, Torosaurus said, okay, you're messing with us, you're messing with the deal, we're pulling back. We quit. And they thought, because they were so huge, they would have leverage. They would have leverage over Amazon, and that Amazon would get back to the deal or sit back on the table and negotiate. But instead, Amazon said, okay, we don't care. We don't care. Fast forward a few years. Torosaurus last year, in 2017, so it took them more than 10 years actually, they decided, okay, maybe e-commerce is something we need to look into. I actually looked at the Dutch website, Torosaurus.nl. It's still online. It's not even responsive yet. So it's a bit messy. They've been standing still for a long time. So last year they signed a $100 million deal to revamp their full digital presence into e-commerce, into their design, into all the nations and markets they serve. $100 million. That's enough for all of us to work on for years and make good money and have a great project. And about 4 months into the project, or a little bit more, in May of this year, they filed for bankruptcy. Because they simply, again, they missed the boat. So probably a few of you are currently thinking, okay, come on. Everybody knows this. I mean, Nokia, that's an example of 10 years back. Can't you find something more relevant or more recent? Try to do that with Torosaurus. But research shows as well that almost half of the companies still don't have a digital strategy in place. So in a survey, it was held among approximately 600 companies in both the US and Europe. and they were asked about digital strategy, and almost every company did something with digital. They had some sort of Facebook page or Twitter strategy, or they sent out a newsletter every once in a while. And if we were lucky, they were also segmenting it, so to males and females, to kids, to parents. However, 49% didn't have a real strategy on paper. So if you're asking me, is this relevant at all? Why do we need to care? Yes, it is, because half of our clients aren't thinking about it, or maybe half of you guys aren't thinking about it. It is relevant. And just to illustrate that, another stat about e-commerce sales versus retail, versus offline sales, it has been growing on average 15% year on year on year. So that's a trend that we just can't ignore. So the past few slides we've seen what it is, the definition of digital transformation, and also why we need to care. But maybe this is an interesting question too. Why is it so difficult? Why did a huge company like Torosaurus, why couldn't they catch up? Why couldn't they transform themselves and make sure that they were ahead of the competition? And the next slides show 3 key reasons that I found that make it difficult. And the first one is actually quite a simple one. It's a lot of work. And it requires commitment to get it done. And there's a little asterisk to it because it requires a lot of work from the employees, all the people working for a company, but also buying from the board. We need to be supported. And I can imagine this being the board of Torosaurus about 40, 50 years ago. And they were all happy, all owning a bunch of stores, probably franchise. And they were happy, everything's going well for us. But that's where it starts. That's where we need buy-in from. That's where we need commitment from. And then we need to get work done. And it's a lot. It is a lot. A second reason why it's difficult, and that's one that probably appeals to the developers in the room. There's a lot of developers in this venue these days. It's not an exact science. Digital transformation isn't an if this, then that, else that type of change. We can't just copy and paste something that we've seen from Uber because, okay, they had a great interface and it worked well, and then I had a great experience in the car, and afterwards I got an email or a text message, or I could follow up in the app. I mean, we can't just copy and paste that for all of our clients because we don't work for Uber most of the times. Actually, at least I don't. So it's a tiresome path, it's a lot of work, and there's no clear path to success in the end. And that's what we need to figure out. So it's difficult. And the third reason why is that it requires consistency. It requires brand consistency. We can't just say, okay, I have a client or product or a service and I'm going to transform or update just a small part of that experience. You have to do it all across the board. It's a full experience that you're trying to transform because everything nowadays is connected. I mean, we have to strive for excellence at all stages of the customer journey, and that means in design, in transition, in delivery, in support, in service processes, all across the board. Again, it relates to the first point. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. So we've seen what it is, why it's important, and why it's difficult. So let's dive a little bit into current trends and see how we can relate to that with our Drupal projects. Actually, this was a large part of the panel talk early this morning from Dries. He said it's all about the experience. I mean, we at Drupal, we are struggling to compete against companies that create huge and great consumer experiences. And that is a trend that's been going on, and it won't stop for a while. That experience is set, the bar is set by others, and we need to keep up and catch up, otherwise we will fall behind. And I have two small examples to illustrate just fairly recent changes actually in consumer experience. This might have been actually a photo of my student apartment back in the day. this is how we ordered the pizza, at least how I did. We had a bunch of folders. We would just grab one from the floor or wherever it was lying around, pick out the pizza, call them, and then hope it would get delivered. I wouldn't know exactly how long it would take, half an hour, 45 minutes, if it was busy, an hour and a half. But that was the whole experience, the folder was, and the phone call. Then, this is a very, very Dutch example, but the website Thuisbezorgd, basically what they did is they said, okay, we can make that digital. There's so many folders and pizzerias in the city, let's digitalize that and create a listing website. So that's what they did. They listed all the pizzerias that delivered to your home on the platform, actually made you able to order online. So that was a big, big step forward from browsing through the folders and calling for the delivery, but actually ordering it online. But nowadays, this is the standard. This is the standard in ordering food. Deliveroo, and there's a bunch of competitors that do the same thing. They said, okay, that's only listing companies or restaurants that do deliver already. Let's make all the restaurants that don't deliver yet available. So we implement the delivery guys ourselves. We own the delivery. And starting from that, we actually improve the customer experience from the beginning to the end. So it's not only the listing anymore, it's also telling me immediately how long it takes for me to get the food. Next step, it's making it really easy to order. And the final step is actually keeping me up to date at every single moment in that journey. It tells me when I will receive my food. It actually tells me where the delivery guy is on his bicycle. It tells me where the restaurant is related to me. And I can actually track that guy live to my door. And afterwards I get a nice thank you message. I get an email, probably a coupon code and a voucher. And that whole journey in general is being transformed and made into an experience. And everything I do now, if I get a client that needs something with delivery or food, this is what he points out to me and this is what he wants from me. Since I like to stay in Dutch examples, bicycles, my second example for trends in consumer experience, I was trying to find something different than the well-known example. So this is how it was. The Dutch, we like to ride our bikes. I and my wife and I, we own 5 of them, so quite a few. And whenever I have a flat tire, I just take another one. But eventually the time comes that they're all broken or flat, and we need to fix it. So that was reality for a lot of Dutch people. Or you just take it to a shop, which is inconvenient because you have to bring it there, probably stuff it in your car and drive there, bring it back or pick it back up when it's ready, etc. And some smart students, not too long ago, actually, they invented the swap bike. So what they do is they make a very simple website, actually, because it's only a bike to lease. I pay 15 euros per month, and actually the guy with the blue shirt drives up, takes his bike from the car, and just say, here you go, have a good trip. Enjoy your mobility, because that's what they sell. They sell continuous mobility. And whenever I have an issue with it, I just call them or use the app, and the guy comes back, gives me another bike, takes my broken bike with him, and he fixes it at his own time, and I don't have to wait for it. So I'm always mobile. I always have a bike that I can ride. I don't need to own 5 bikes anymore. And this guy actually, this is a photo I took from Instagram. He was so happy with that experience that he actually posted it and showed it to all his friends. Look how cool I am. I got a swap bike. And I didn't have anything, I didn't have to do anything for it. So just a few examples, and that also relates to Drupal a little bit. So what can we do? And the first one is quite simple, and we will be doing that maybe already. I mean, it's about MVP first. Let's crawl before we walk, before we run. Work agile. So because it's a long and daunting path that we need to walk on, because it's not an exact science, we need to learn and evolve from that. And also because the full consumer experience needs to be in line, needs to be cool. So let's start with something small that's actually really cool, then something big that's okay, and evolve from that while using everything that we have to our for us to use. This picture is this is the MarTech 5000. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but basically it lists 5,000 tools and apps that are currently available. They're mostly software as a service tools, but Drupal's in here somewhere too, in the content column. But these are 5,000 tools that are there for us to use. And just a small example as how we did it for a brand that we work for is Mentos. We found out that we killed the consumer journey because people that surf to the Mentos website, they want information about the product, maybe some information about the company, and that's it, they left. So we figured that, well, let's use a tool like Channelside. In this case, there's some competitors that do the same thing, but basically they tell us through an API where that product is available and in which store it is. And this is a screenshot from the German website. So they actually tell us that you can buy this at Amazon or at Rewe. And the funny thing is that in this specific case, 4% of the visitors actually click on a button like that. Conversion on the store is a little bit hard to measure. We do get data from that. But we do know that in the US, where they like to buy in bulk, the average order value is $40 per order. So it's actually a huge gain by just implementing something simple and making sure that the journey is in a circle so that it doesn't end at our platform. So very quick and small example that's really easy to implement, easy to implement for ourselves. And taking back to our own clients, how we think about the customer journey, how we brainstorm about that. I have an example of Brian Chesky. He is one of the co-founders of Airbnb, and he has written or actually told about how they do it at Airbnb, and that's something that we like to do at our agency too. They call it the 11-star principle. So what they say is, when you go to an Airbnb, you knock on the door, somebody opens up and shows you around the house, and it's clean, the bed is made, there's a Wi-Fi password, and maybe he tells you that around the corner is a really good Italian restaurant. That's in general a 5-star experience. However, that's what we expect nowadays. I mean, we expect a clean apartment, we expect a Wi-Fi password and the Wi-Fi to work, and we also expect him to kind of give me some information about the area. So that's not enough. That's not an experience I tell my friends about. So what they do is they start brainstorming and think about the 6-star experience. What would that be? Okay, I looked at your Facebook profile, I saw you like surfing, here's my surfboard, there's a good tide right there at this time, and please enjoy that. The 7-star experience, here's the keys to my car. Just go ahead, drive around, it's yours. And if you need anything, just call me and I'll drive right up and I'll give you groceries, etc. And they just take that into the extreme, up to 11 stars, to actually find that trimming it back isn't that bad. I have a quote from him. He speaks really fast, so pay attention if you like. But he explains it from the 10 stars.
So what would a 10-star check-in be? A 10-star check-in would be the Beatles check-in in 1964. I'd get off the plane, and there'd be 5,000 high school kids cheering my name with cars welcoming me to the country. I'd get to the front yard of your house, and there'd be a press conference for me. And that would be just a mindful experience. So what would an 11-star experience be? I would show up to the airport, and you'd be there with Elon Musk, you're saying you're going to space. The point of the process is that maybe 9, 10, 11 are not feasible, but if you go through the crazy exercise of keep going, there's some sweet spot between they showed up and they opened the door, and I went
to space with Elon Musk. That's what he finishes. So there is a sweet spot in the middle, and that's what we can already do with our own projects, with our own products. We need to find the extreme first, define the extreme, to actually find that surfboard or that car maybe isn't that bad. So think of that and maybe try it sometime. We have done it at our agency, and it's not only useful, but it's really fun, because you get crazy ideas about how we did it for our own agency, how we could welcome clients to our office. It's kind of similar to what Brian is saying here. So it led to a lot of fun, but also to some really implementable ideas that we actually did. trend number 2 out of 3, conversational interfaces, and that's a two-way trend. First of all, by 2020, Gartner found about 50% or over 50% of medium to large enterprises will have deployed chatbots. And that's also supported by the stat that Intercom, which is a chatbot provider, it's plug and play, it's an API, they just serve the tool as a service. They are handling over 500 million conversations per month. So this shows that it's actually used. And if you look into some use cases, then you find, for example, KLM that's doing this really, really well. I flew with KLM to Frankfurt yesterday, and they informed me via text message, via WhatsApp, via email, and via their app. They told me that my flight was delayed for half an hour, or a little bit longer. They sent me my boarding pass. I can open it in whatever tool I use, whatever tool I like. And they keep me up to date all the time. And that pain of 40 minutes delay, that it was instantly gone for me, because it wasn't that much anyways. And what would I do? Just sit in Darmstadt? It's fine at the airport. Thank you for informing me. And that is just a very simple way of using existing tools to make things better. And that's the first step, because conversational interfaces, it doesn't mean chatbots, it means talking to a machine the way a human does. That's what it means. And the next step is the smart speaker revolution. So technology is ready, because Google, you've all seen the keynote probably, or the video where Google books a haircut, an appointment at the hairdresser salon, and it was a bot that made the appointment, actually talking to a human. So technology is ready. Google is at a 95% ratio where they can interpret human voice, 95% correctness. And at the same time, they can speak back with the same accuracy to a human. And while technology is ready, at the same time, the consumers are ready too, because this stat on the screen shows that at this moment, 1/5 of all American citizens have access to a smart speaker. So 1/5 of all Americans can actually interact with a speaker. That's also phones, but it's also cars. Currently in Germany, the Germany located Mercedes, they have it too. You could say, hey Mercedes, play my favorite song. Hey Mercedes, take me home, navigate me home. And he will interpret that and actually talk back to you in a way that you find comfortable. So conversational interfaces are going to change the way we interact. It's not about a screen anymore. It's about, we don't know what type of interface we will have. So first thing to do is make content available. So data first, interface second. And there's a reason why Dries knows the past few years has been talking about headless development. There's a reason why so many talks at this event are about headless, or about React, or about Vue, about JavaScript frameworks, about API first. It's because it is somewhat the future. There's not always a use case or a business case for it, but as developers and Drupal agencies, we do need to learn and understand those technologies and be able to work with it, because otherwise at some point we will fall behind again. SEO will change, because we need to optimize for interfaces we don't know yet. The Google Home, if I ask him, where can I get a good pizza? He won't read through the whole 10 result listing page of the search engine. He won't just go by first result, that's Napoli pizza. Second result, Roma. He would just say one result. Probably the one I like or ordered before, but otherwise it's just the first one. So SEO for our websites will change a lot, because you need to be first or you're not being used. There's ways for that. It's called optimizing for position 0. And if that's something you're interested in, you should really Google for that and learn how to do that, because you need to be that featured snippet at the top of the results, because otherwise you won't be read by that speaker. And a use case from our own agency, we work for a luxury vacation rental company where you can book holidays. And because they are into the luxury business, we are actually experimenting with implementing Google Homes in their vacation homes. So actually building APIs to help their customers and visitors get around town, get around the area, get around their vacation. We're doing the same thing with a tablet app too. So we're experimenting, and it's all being fed by the same Drupal backend, which is headless in this case, that also feeds their website. We don't know if it's a business case yet, but at least we have some experience. At least we know what we're doing, and maybe we're right on top of it. And otherwise, we can jump on the next thing and make sure that we won't be missing out. Finally, personalization. And there was a lot of talk about data and Facebook and Google early this morning, and that is very relevant. But we expect our experience to be personalized. We expect that we get results that are relevant for me and for me only. Queries in Google have grown tremendously with the keyword near me next to it. So 900% growth, pizzeria near me, or football club near me, or I don't know, a digital agency near me. And even if you don't add that little piece of text to your search query, Google actually does it by himself too. He knows a little bit about you, so he will give you a little bit more personalized experience. And that's something we can't get around anymore, because these tech giants, they do it all the time. It's their business model. They own our data because they can make a better experience out of it. So they grow, they make more business, make more money. So they start gathering more information again. So it's a vicious circle. However, as we know, it is a business case. McKinsey reported that when fully implemented, personalization can lead to a 10 to 20% decrease in media buying, because we spend money on advertising, but because we spend it, we implement it more effectively, we save a lot of cost, while at the same time increase our revenue with 10 to 30%. So just by being more personalized, we can actually make more money and make our clients more successful. And if I connect that to Drupal, I have actually two use cases from our own agency again. Personalization for a big pharmaceutical company is what this is. What we do with them is we help them own their own data, because that's where it goes wrong for most of our clients, for most of any website. We implement Google Analytics and we're done, because it's really easy and it's free. However, there are alternatives, in this case, Domo, which is an open source copy. It's literally a copy and paste. I spoke to one of the developers a year back, and he said, well, whenever Google comes with a new feature, we just copy and paste it. We just do it too, because it's probably researched and works well. And the great thing about this too is you own the data. You host it yourselves. It's a MySQL database, so you can query it, you can look into it, you can duplicate it, you can use it for your own experiences, and you can also enrich it. For this specific case, we combine databases, so web visits versus their own CRM, and that leads, in this case, to a lot of insights. We help them with gaining insights that they can use in their sales techniques. But similarly, for the Dutch National Trust, which is a semi-governmental organization that manages a lot of monuments and nature reserves, we implemented the same tool to make things more personalized. So everything within Drupal is geolocated, it's geotagged. So every page, every news article, every route, biking route, horse riding route, hiking route, everything is geotagged and based on your IP address, but also based on your visiting path so far. We can give you very relevant suggestions at what you might like next, because we can find that in this case again, the Matomo database. We can see what similar visiting paths have done and led, which people have led to actually a conversion and a donation. So based on that, we give them and more relevance in terms of geo, but also in terms of conversion for us. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what I was trying, what I was hoping to get across. I mean, there's a lot going on in terms of data, privacy. There's a lot going on in terms of force, and we probably might think, okay, it might blow over. What's force? Why do we need it? Am I really going to talk into my phone when I'm walking on the streets, like they do in China? Those Chinese look really weird when they do that. They talk into the phone. But in the end, things will change, and we need to be ready for that. And the same was with social media. When social media and Facebook came across, there was a lot of companies that said, okay, I don't need a business page. Why would I need a business page on Facebook? Why would I need to advertise? It will blow over. It's something, a social network is nothing for me. But that voice, that the way we interact, conversational interface, could be the next social media. So if you think about that this way now, you might be too late, or you might have to catch up a lot. So in the end, we have a great weapon of choice, all of us. We have all the tools available to increase and better our products. And all we need to do is make sure that we know those tools, that we can use them, and how to combine them into a great product for our clients. And I urge you to look into that. That's it for me. And otherwise, in the end, we all be Jeffries. Anything you would like me to clear up or correct or ask? And if not, then that's it.